Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Playbook. This is episode 18, I want to say. Don't count me on that. This is my second one recording today. So we're still in the holiday spirit, even though at the time of you watching this, Christmas will have passed. Speaking of the holiday spirit, my guest today has a Christmas tree in the background, so I would say he's in the spirit. My guest is Dennis Castellano. How are you, Dennis?
I'm doing great, Paul. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. I'm glad to have you on. You're a pretty experienced guy, so I'm looking forward to chatting with you about some things here. But
Absolutely.
for the people that don't know you, man, why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got started in real estate, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I got started in real estate about 26 years ago now. I had some rental properties at the time, and I wanted just to get my real estate license just for knowledge, really. One thing led to another, and I got in the business part time at University Realty under the direction of a gentleman that taught me the business. His name was Bob Piccarelli, and practiced mainly over in the university area, selling condos and townhouses. And I was over there, I guess, for I don't know 5 6 years. I started doing it part time, and I had a full time job at the at that time as well, and it just snowballed. It got busy and more busy, and I decided to leave my full time job and go into real estate full time, and that's basically what I've done since then. We had at the time we had a gentleman in the office. His name was Tom Edrington, and he did commercial real estate. And I was at university for about 5 or 6 years, and Tom approached me one day and he's like, listen, he says, why don't we move our license? He said, I'll teach you the commercial business. You can just handle the residential side of it. So we left the office and we went somewhere else. And, I'm going back into like the early 2000s now. And we ended up I was doing a lot of residential, and we started doing a lot of commercial too, and did a lot of stuff over in St. Pete, downtown St. Pete, buildings, retail, apartments, sold a couple mobile home parks, and just one thing led to another, and I found my way over. I went back to University Realty for a short period of time, and then went with a company called Exit Elite Realty, Exit Realty. They're all over the United States, and I was there for a while, and then got the opportunity to come over to 54 Realty. A good friend of mine that's there now, Mike Peoples. We were talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, and Mike was already there, and I finally made the move. And I got to be honest with you, I've been there. I don't know, about a year and 3 or 4 months now, and it's the best move that I've ever made. I mean, I'm more busy now than I've ever been, and it's been great. The whole thing's been great.
Well, for 26 years, that's good to hear, man.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm having a lot of fun. I really am, and you know, real estate. When you're busy like we are at 54 Realty, I mean, it's truly a full time job. It really is, and my days are filled, and I just I really enjoy being over there.
Absolutely, man. Sorry, my headphones just died, so I lost you for a second, but I caught what you were saying there.
Okay, okay,
Um,
yeah, but I mean that's kind of that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Makes
Um,
sense.
that was pretty quick for 26 years, but
Yeah. Dude, it's so funny because even when he's in no way involved, somehow Mike's name always ends up coming up in these things.
well, I got to know Mike really from baseball. He uh,
Really?
he gave my son hitting lessons, and we got to know each other, and we've known each other for for quite a while. And he was in the real estate business as well, and he was sort of doing the same thing that I did. You do real estate, but you have like a little part time gig on the side that you did, and over here at 54 Realty, you really can't do that. we're
Yeah.
so we're so busy. But that's really how I got to know Mike. And it's funny. he was talking to me about 54 Realty when my son was at a hitting lesson out in Newport Richey, and I mean he was doing the lesson and talking to me about how good this company is, and then one thing led to another, and I guess it was about 6-7 months later I found my way over there.
There you go, man. So yeah, we credit Mike with a lot of people actually coming over here. He's like our unofficial spokesperson to some degree.
Knows a lot of people. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, man. Dennis, you touched on something that I wanted to kind of talk to you about on this podcast today, which is commercial real estate. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you started in residential, or technically you started in commercial?
Yeah. No, I started in residential, and Tom Edrington actually was the person that taught me commercial real estate. And again, I mean, we did a lot of things over in St. Pete. So a lot of properties downtown St. Pete, Snell Isle. We did a big project over there, and that that's how I kind of learned the ropes, and that was I mean, we're going back 21 years ago,
Oh
22
wow.
years ago now. Yeah. It's a it's a tough market right now. I mean, you have a lot of investors out there that a lot of them are just sitting on the fence because the prices on a lot of these properties are very high right now, and the cap rates have went down, and you've got a lot of people right now, a lot of investors sitting on the fence um, waiting for really the prices to go down a little bit, those cap rates to go up, and I think when that happens, you'll see a lot of these investors buying properties.
Makes sense.
I mean, it's still moving. I mean, the commercial real estate market is still moving, but from a client perspective, a lot of the ones that I deal with are buyers and they're investors, and they want to buy the properties right. You can't overpay for them.
Yeah.
You just can't do that in the commercial real estate market and get yourself in a lot of trouble doing that. But anyway, I mean that's a little bit about the commercial world.
So for a layman like myself, sometimes I'm pretty good with picking up on terms and this sort of thing, but Charles actually said this in the one I just did with him too, and you just mentioned this term, which is cap rates. I'm just not familiar. Perhaps you could explain what that is in case there's anybody else out there that's not familiar.
Yeah, I mean it's actually what the property is bringing in, based on the price of the property, what you pay for it. It's the return that you're
Gotcha.
getting, and that's the simple answer to
Right.
capitalization rate.
I tend to prefer the simple answers, so I appreciate that. But Dennis, so comparatively speaking, would you say, because now you've got quite a wealth of experience in both residential and commercial, how would you say commercial stacks up to residential real estate? Can it be more difficult, or is it on par?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. Residential is more of an emotional buy, if you
Yeah,
will. Commercial, it's black and white. It's numbers. It's basically what it is,
makes
and
sense.
it's a return on that investment. Um, you know, Again, I mean, with residential, you're dealing with a lot of families. Commercial, you're dealing with investors, you're dealing with attorneys. I mean, that sort of thing. But it's truly commercial business is black and white. If it's a function of numbers, and if it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, you move on to the next one.
Yeah, I
But that's that. I mean, that's the difference. I mean, for me, uh, the residential, I would say, is a little bit easier.
yeah,
Um, I feel like, sometimes going from appointments to appointments, I put on a different hat.
yeah.
I found myself, this just happened a couple of weeks ago. I was up here in Pasco, and I was doing some residential work. And then I had to run over to the university area to show some large office space to one of the hospitals that I deal with here in town. And I was driving down Livingston and Lutz, and I'm like, now I've got to take my residential hat off and put my commercial hat on, because the lingo is completely, it's just completely different. It's just it's a different world.
Yeah, you got to switch gears, right?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, the person that I was meeting is, is a friend of mine, somebody that I've known for a long time. But I thought it was funny. I was driving. I started laughing. I'm like, now I got to take this residential hat off, throw it in the back seat. Now I got to put the commercial one on. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's different, but it keeps you active and it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Certainly. So I think something the way you just described commercial real estate, which is black and white, it's all kind of cut and dry. You sort of know what you're getting into. I think that might be attractive to some agents, right? Who might get stressed out by the how tumultuous it can be working with buyers in their different situations, and on the residential side of things. So if somebody was looking to get into commercial real estate, what would you recommend as like a good starting point?
Get with a mentor. That's that's what helped me a lot. You got to have somebody on your side. Um, you know, uh, Somebody that'll teach you the ropes. It's not easy. It's not easy to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really it's a different lingo. I mean, you're totally different contract. A lot of the contracts you're working off of boilerplates. That were produced by attorneys, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So that's what I would tell somebody. If you want to get into commercial real estate, get with somebody who's been doing commercial real estate, and try and learn it that way. That's how I learned it. That's really the only way I know,
Yeah,
to be
that's good
honest with you.
advice. Yeah, it's not one of those things where you can fake it till you make it, really, right?
No, it's not, and that's a real good point, Paul. You get on the phone with the commercial brokers, and they can tell right away whether or not you know what you're talking about. I mean, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you want to really learn the business from somebody, and we've got people in the office that have came to me and asked, hey, if I've got questions, yeah, absolutely, be more than happy to help you. Um, but that's what it takes, in my opinion. That's how it helped me
No, I
learn the
think
business.
yeah, that's good advice for sure. Because like I was saying, can't fake it. So Dennis, my next question for you is just kind of relates to
Sure.
your experience. So 26 years is a long time to do anything. So I'm sure you've had ups and downs and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know you were just talking about baseball.
Yeah.
So I know you're a family man, and there's a lot to balance there. And actually, at one of our recent brokerage trainings, you were part of a panel where we were talking about work-life balance,
Mhm.
which is something that comes up on this show a lot. Work-life balance
Yeah.
and how not to drive yourself crazy, that sort of thing. So I
Right.
was wondering if you could offer any insights into how you manage your time or how you manage that work-life balance. You don't have to, give everything that you did at the training, but maybe a little bit, a little glimpse.
No, like I mentioned at the training when we were on that panel. I like to get up in the morning, and I like to go to the gym early, and it just kind of sets my day. It kind of sets my day up, and then I just go from there. I mean, I try and make sure that I get everything wrapped up by 6 o'clock. In the real estate business, that doesn't always happen because sometimes you'll have an appointment after hours, or sometimes you're taking care of responding to emails and that sort of thing. But I try really hard to get as much done as I can. I have a schedule that I kind of go by every day, and I like to try and get it done by 6 o'clock. With me, like I spoke about in the meeting, my wife works in the evenings, so I mean I've got the responsibility of the kids. After she leaves, so I kind of do the dinner and this, that, the other. So I like to try and have things wrapped up by 6. It doesn't always work like that, but that's what I like to do. And then as for the weekends, and like I mentioned on that panel, I like to be done on Saturdays by 2, maybe 3, if I have to work.
Right.
And then I just kind of shut it down, for that Saturday evening into maybe Sunday afternoon. Um, that's how it works for me. I mean, it's not always like that, but I try and adhere to to that schedule. My son plays a lot of baseball, so I mean, there's weekends like this past weekend where I'm not available that much. I was in St. Pete Saturday and Sunday for the better part of the day. So um, uh, if I know that that's coming up, I mean, I work really hard during the week to try and get as much as I can done because I know that my availability on the weekend uh, might not be there because I'm, tied up at a tournament or, or whatnot. But uh, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I've got a routine and I just kind of try and stick with it.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what I was kind of gonna say in response to that, which is I think I've said this before. I'm not a morning person, so when you say, I'm up at 5, I'm like, whoo, I don't know, man. But
I used to get up. Hey, Linda, I used to get up earlier than that. I used to do the 4 o'clock thing, but I tell you, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older or what. I just kind of keep it at 5 now.
yeah.
Anytime before then, man, it's by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd be like a zombie, But yeah, that's kind of when I start, about 5.
Yeah, and I was I was watching somebody on YouTube, a realtor, who was talking about his morning routine and how crucial it is to him. And like I said, this is something we talked about on previous episodes. And he was saying, similar to you, he wakes up super early, gets his gym stuff done, eats a meal probably, takes care of whatever phone calls he has to make or whatever before he's even at the office. So that when he does show up to the office, he's already been on for a couple of hours. So it's not like he's groggy waking up, etc. He's like ready to go, ready to fire away. So maybe I need to start doing that.
That's exactly the way. That's exactly the way I am. It doesn't work for everybody though. I mean, some people are just not morning people. I became that way because many years ago I managed in the grocery business, and I was normally getting at the store early in the morning, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know if that. I guess that's kind of what did it for me, and I never really got out of that cycle. I was always a morning person. Now I will tell you, when we get into the evening, as we get around 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm pretty much out of it at that point.
Yeah.
I'm,
I would imagine.
I'm ready to go to bed. But anyway, that's
Yeah, so
kind of how
you made me think of something else too, Dennis, when you were talking about your routine, which again is another theme that tends to come up on here, which is like, so it's already quite a lot to have on your plate to manage a full-time real estate career and family life, social life, that sort of thing. So we talk on here about people who take up real estate as like a part-time career. Like I've spoken to several people who have a regular 9 to 5 full-time job, but then they do real estate on the side. And then on top of that, they have their personal life and that sort of thing, which just doesn't seem feasible to me. Like you can't give the necessary amount of effort to all three of those things. So I'm wondering
if you're Paul, if you're in a slower office, you can get by with something like that. But at 54 Realty, and just as well as I do, I mean, we're the highest volume office in Pasco County. You can't have a full-time job and work there as an agent. I mean, I guess you can, but I don't know how you would do it, to be honest with you. I mean, you have to give your clients the attention that they deserve. And I mean, sometimes with these full-time jobs, I mean, you can't really make phone calls during the day because you're tied into what you're doing. That's kind of what was happening to me when I first got in this business. I would use my lunch hour to return phone calls and set up appointments, sometimes for later in the evening or or the next day. And I kept getting asked to go to lunch every day with some of my colleagues and stuff like, and I would turn them down quite a bit. And at that point, I kind of knew, this is difficult to do 2 jobs like that. And so I got rid of the full-time job and then went into the real estate full-time. But yeah, it's difficult to do, especially difficult if you're at a high volume office. I don't really know how you would do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, me either.
That's like my mom for a long time. So
yeah, it's like my mom says, which is don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing, right?
That's right. She's 100% correct.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's tough.
And it's probably taken me a long time to understand that, but your mom's right.
I'm sure she would love to hear that. So
she's right.
So Dennis, the next couple questions I have are less about real estate and more so about you. So I'm curious, in 26 years of being in the business, what would you say is your biggest strength? What would you say has contributed the most to your success?
I'm good. I'm good with talking to people.
Yeah.
And trying to understand what they want and what they need, whatever they're purchasing. So that's a strength of mine. I'm pretty good when I get in front of somebody. Um, Fortunately, the office has me doing a lot of the residential listings, and I'm just comfortable in front of people. Once I get to meet them, and I'm just down to earth. It's I'm not a high pressured guy.
Yeah.
I just and I think that helps me a lot. But I think it's just my ability to connect or relate with who I'm dealing with at the time. That's helped me a lot.
Makes sense. Yeah, Charles was talking about, he called it being a chameleon, which is being able to just interact with all different kinds of people, and no matter what the situation is.
Yeah, Charles is 100% correct. Yeah, you have to know how to adjust, so to speak. And if you can do that, it helps a lot. And I really honestly, I've thought about this before. I mean, I really feel that that's one of my strengths. I can relate to people. You know, and I think it's helped me quite a bit.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, being down to earth, which I definitely see you that way. And I talked to Brett last week about, these were his words, not mine, but he said something along the lines of, there's a lot of ego in real estate, especially once you start talking to, top producers and that sort of thing. So I'm wondering how much you've encountered that, and how much you think that is a detriment to some people's business.
Yeah, it can be. I know a lot of people in this business, and some of them are like that. I'm not like that.
No, not
I'm
at all.
just, I just kind of do my thing and get it done and take care of people and and treat them right. I'm not into all the ego stuff and the flash and all of that. Now there are a lot of realtors that are, and I know them, but
They're on TV.
yeah, they are. So some of them aren't on TV either, and they're still like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's just not me. It never, it never has been. Um, I, uh, I was always, it's interesting that we're talking about this because when I got started with learning the commercial business, um, I was never really the front guy. The guy that taught me the business was the front guy. I kind of did all the work kind of behind the scenes, but I've always liked that. I mean, I've always been like that, and I don't know, it works for me. I'm not the flash ego guy. It's just I never have been,
It
never will be.
seems, yeah, it seems to be the way to go, honestly. Like most people that I talk to that are successful top producers, etc., who still have a good head on their shoulders, are always of the same sentiment as you, which is just you can't let it get to your head, really. And if you do, that might be your downfall, especially because clients can see that sort of thing, I think.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Um, Sometimes when you start going in this business and things are going well, it can go to your head, but you just got to stay even keel and just keep plugging away. I use that phrase all the time. I get people ask, "Hey, how you doing, Dennis?" And I say, I'm doing great. Just how's business? Just plugging away. That's what I
Plugging
tell
away.
them. And that's kind of what I do. I just kind of plug away and grind. And but yeah, again, I'm not the flash guy, the
Yeah,
ego guy.
absolutely.
I don't want to be either.
Stay that way, man.
Let somebody else do
Yeah.
that.
There's enough agents out there, you don't have to be them.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So on the other hand, Dennis, aside from talking about strengths, as Joe says, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. So in 26 years, I'm sure you face a hurdle or two. I'm wondering what has been the biggest thing that you've had to overcome in your
Uh,
career.
yeah, I mean that's clearly when the market tanked. I mean that started back '05, '06, and it didn't really affect me in '05 or '06. I mean, we were still, really blowing and going at the time, but I started to feel those effects back in '08 and '09. I mean, with all the foreclosures and everything, it was tough. I mean, it was really, really tough to get through. And, I had to, do some things, like on weekends or in the evenings. My cousin of mine owns well, at the time, owned a large limousine service in Tampa, and he still does. It's just downsized. I would help him. Sometimes I'd help him in the evenings. I'd help him, on the weekends, just to make extra cash. That was the biggest um, uh, thing that's ever happened, is when the market tanked, and it affected a lot of people. A lot of realtors that were in the business got out of the business,
Yeah,
but was able to get through it, and and learned a lot from it. You know,
absolutely.
so it was interesting. I mean, there was just so many foreclosures back then, and what happened was, at the time I was at Exit, and we had a realtor in house, and she dealt with the Blackstone account. And Blackstone is a huge REIT out of New York City, major REIT out of New York
Yeah.
City. And they came in and they gobbled up a lot of these foreclosures and cleaned them up, painted them, and rented them out. And it kind of started to stabilize the market. But yeah, those were tough times back then.
I can
They really
imagine.
were, and I'm was just grateful to get through them.
And like you said, a lot of people left the business around that time. I've heard, some stories of people who stuck it out like yourself, and I think that's a testament to how you overcame it. I mean, it's that old saying where it's like, if I can live through this, I can live through anything. So I'm
Yeah,
sure just
yeah.
sticking it out through that, now it's like whatever else might come my way is easy, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of it. It's be interesting to see what happens as we get into next year. I mean, with this market, I think that you're going to start seeing, maybe towards the back end of the first quarter of 22. I think you'll start seeing a little bit of foreclosure action come onto the market. Um, I work with one of the uh, large banks here in town, and I was with some of their attorneys the other night, and I was talking to one of them about it, and I think you'll start to see some foreclosure action. The first quarter, maybe the back end of the first quarter of next year. But I don't think it's going to be. I feel pretty confident that it will be nothing like what we dealt with back in '06, '07, those times.
And if it is, you're prepared. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel that I
yeah,
am.
yeah. It's
I've
funny.
been through it before.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of experience with it.
Hmm. Not to bring up Charles again, but him and I were talking about something similar, which is, he's been in almost 3 years now, and so I was asking him, the market conditions right now are certainly unique as well. So I said, what is it like dealing with that when you just started in this career? And he kind of said what you said, which is, if I can do this, everything else is a cakewalk. So it seems to be the consensus.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So my next question for you, Dennis, is an interesting one, which is if you had to go back 26 years and perhaps choose a different career, if you hadn't chosen real estate, what would you see yourself doing?
Well, it'd be either one of two things. It would have been either managing the grocery business, because I was doing that at a very young age, or I had a good. I also I got out of the grocery business for a little while back then, and I worked for Delta Airlines,
Oh,
and
nice.
I got to tell you, I think back on this quite a bit. If I could have got on full time there at TIA, I might not have ever left,
Yeah.
but I couldn't get on full time. I mean, it was a great job, it was a great gig. It really was. I mean, they trained me in Atlanta, Dallas, Salt Lake City. I learned the gates, learned the ticket counter, all of that, and had a great time, back then. But I couldn't get on full time. I mean, the seniority out at TIA was just, through the roof. I mean, the top person had 41 years,
Woo.
and the lowest one on the totem pole had 11 at the time. And but I think that if I could have gotten on full time here in Tampa, I might have just stayed with that.
Yeah.
Good
Makes sense,
job. Good job. A lot of benefits, a lot of fringe benefits, I should say, with with
man.
travel and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't going to be real estate, I mean, those were the kind of the two things: either maybe managing in the grocery business, or sticking it out with Delta Airlines if I could have gone on full time.
Makes sense, man.
So
Well, we're lucky too because we've got like the best airport that I've ever been to here.
yeah, yeah, it is. And then it was nice back then too. I mean, but it always ran smoothly out there, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, there's with all the security now in place. I mean, some
I
of the
can
fun
imagine.
things that we were able to do back then, you really can't do now, because
Yeah.
there's all the security and everything. But it was a good time. It was a good time, and I learned a lot. I met a lot of people. I really did, and some of my supervisors and managers out there at TIA for Delta. Went to school with my dad, so
Oh,
it
nice.
was, it was neat. It was pretty neat. It was a good time out there.
That's cool, man. Well, Dennis, I don't know. This time flew by, but I'm already somehow on my last question here. Just enjoying listening to your stories. So my last question here, it's just how we end every episode, which is basically if you could give some advice to new agents out there who might be struggling, what would your advice be to them?
Get with somebody that has a lot of experience and that's been doing it for a while. Just like I said with the commercial, you know, try and get with somebody that has the experience and learn their routine. See what they do on a daily basis, how they do it. Um, if they have experience and have been doing it full time for a while, they obviously have a routine and they probably know what they're doing. So I would say get with somebody that that's experienced. Ride with them, ask questions. Um, that's the advice that I would give. The training's very important too. It's when I came over to 54 Realty over a year ago now. I mean, I was kind of set in my ways. I did things a certain way, and I said when I went over there, I said, I'm going to try and open up a little bit instead of being just set in my ways, and try and embrace some of the things that they do and some of that change. And it's really, it's paid dividends. So the training's important as well, but the number one thing is trying to get with somebody that has experience, somebody that you're comfortable with.
Don't think you know it all, right?
And don't think you know it all. You learn things like every day. I learn things, every day. But that would be my best advice, Paul.
It's good advice, man. So if you're seeking out a brokerage, 54 Realty might be the right place for you. We got all these things in place,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely. I mean, the team over there, the staff is just just incredible. I mean, we have listing coordinators, transaction coordinators, and when you're busy, you need that help. But they do a wonderful job. I mean, our marketing department, what you do on a daily basis, it's just it's really top of the line. It really is. And normally, when I close something, I usually post it on one of the social media sites. I always give credit to the office, because if it wasn't for the office, it would be difficult. When you're not busy, I mean, I've done everything that they've done. When you're not as busy, I mean, you can handle that. But when you're trying to do the volume that we do in our office, you almost need that help.
yeah.
And I'm grateful for each and every one of them. I really am.
Well, thanks, Dennis. It means a lot, man. We're grateful for you too.
Appreciate it. I really
No
do.
problem, dude. Well, that was it, man. That was all the questions I had for you. I appreciate you making the time for this, Dennis. I know you're busy.
Absolutely. No, Paul, thanks for having me. I really enjoy it, and we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm gonna run out of my list here soon, so I'll have to bring people back for round twos.
Be more than happy to do that with you.
Absolutely. Well, Dennis, I hope you have a great rest of your day, man. Thanks again.
You too, Paul. Take care. Thanks so much.
No problem.